High above the mountains, where endless clouds drift across the sky, there lives a story that has been told for generations. It is the story of Zeus, the unbroken one, whose presence shaped the order of gods and mortals alike. His name was spoken with awe, sometimes with fear, but always with deep respect across every land. Yet his journey was never only about thrones or lightning. It was about wisdom and enduring strength. Zeus was once a hidden child, protected from dangers that sought to take away his destiny before it began. He grew not in palaces of gold, but in the quiet care of nature and the whispers of the earth. From these beginnings he learned patience, resilience, and the sacred value of harmony in all things. When the time came to rise, he chose not chaos, but vision, shaping balance as his guiding power. Zeus never ruled alone. Family, allies, and even rivals left their mark on his path to Olympus. This is not the tale of endless battles, but of a spirit that could not be broken by time or fate. This is the story of the unbroken Zeus. High above the shifting clouds, before Olympus shone in glory, a child was born whose fate was whispered by both earth and sky. That child was Zeus. Even before he held thunder in his hand, his destiny was spoken in hushed voices. The promise of the sky was upon him, a call, not of conquest, but of balance. The world then was restless. The heavens had no ruler, the seas surged without rhythm, and the earth held its secrets. All waited, listening for someone to guide them. In this silence, Zeus was born. Yet unlike those who entered in triumph, his first steps were shadowed by danger. He was hidden, his path protected before it began. In hiding, Zeus learned endurance. His promise came not through wealth or armies, but through patience and quiet strength. He grew listening to winds, sweeping across mountains and streams that sang of eternity. These were his first teachers. From rustling leaves, he learned harmony. From steady earth beneath his feet, he learned resilience. From the endless horizon, he learned vision. Even as a child, he sensed his journey was not to conquer, but to guide balance for all. Gaia, the earth, watched over him. She gave no armies or treasures, but wisdom, subtle, steady, enduring. She showed him that true strength was to remain unbroken. Zeus carried this gift deep within, even before he knew its use. It lived in his heart like a promise waiting for its time. Time passed, and the hidden child grew. The world beyond was full of storms, yet Zeus remained unshaken. Each day made him stronger in purpose. He saw the sky as his mirror, vast, unending, ever-changing, yet always whole. Storms came, light returned, but the sky endured. And so with Zeus, the promise of the sky was not that he would conquer, but that he would endure. He would rise above trial and hold the universe in order. Whispers of fate spoke of this, though many doubted. How could a hidden child become guide of gods and mortals? But those who listened heard truth. In the rustle of leaves, the roll of thunder, the stillness after storm, they heard it. Zeus was not prepared to conquer. He was prepared to hold the balance of the world, to hold the trust of gods and mortals, to hold the promise of the sky. His story had only begun. Yet already, when his name was spoken, the air shifted. Not fear alone, but hope seemed to stir. For even in youth, Zeus showed that strength need not be cruel or loud. Strength can be quiet, steady, patient, and wise. In time, he would rise to Olympus and wield the thunderbolt. But these meant nothing without the promise within him, the promise of the sky. And so, in the silence of his early years, the foundation of Olympus was already being built, not in stone or lightning, but in the heart of the child who would become the unbroken Zeus. This was only the beginning. Before Zeus became ruler of Olympus, his life was wrapped in shadows and secrecy. His birth carried a promise, but it also carried danger from those who feared the prophecy of his rise. So, he was hidden, not in marble halls, but in the quiet embrace of nature, far from the eyes of gods. Mountains became his shelter, forests his walls, rivers his lullaby, and birdsong his music. In this hidden life, Zeus was raised not for glory, but to survive and endure. Yet, survival alone was never the true lesson. It was patience and resilience. Every moment in concealment taught him the art of waiting for the right time. Those who cared for him in secret gave wisdom, not riches, and silence, not noise. They whispered of the world awaiting him, but never rushed his path. Zeus listened. The winds told stories of skies beyond his refuge, while the earth taught him roots must grow strong before trees can rise. He watched storms come and go, learning that even the fiercest tempests yield to calm. From this, he understood that endurance, not fury, was true power. Though unseen, Zeus was never forgotten. Whispers of his life moved quietly like hidden threads in time. He became a symbol of hope, a light waiting beneath the surface. As he grew, so did the quiet certainty that his purpose was greater than himself. He felt it in the stillness of dawn when light touched the sky, and in the hush of night under guiding stars. Zeus knew his destiny was not to rush forward, but to wait until the world was ready. Waiting became his strength, for he listened more than he spoke. The hidden child was not hidden from life. He was hidden for life. In secrecy, he discovered humility, knowing true strength lies in unseen roots that anchor trees. So too did his hidden years anchor him, unseen yet unshaken. The earth herself seemed to protect him, guarding a secret not yet revealed. Mountains stood as guardians, seas sang from afar, and stars watched his sleep. Zeus felt his life belonged not only to himself, but to the balance of all things. Though danger lingered, his spirit never bent under fear or silence. Within him lived the promise of the sky, a truth no threat could erase. One day the world would call for him, and the hidden child would emerge. Until then, Zeus waited patient, steady, certain that his moment would come. And when it did, he would be ready. For the silence of mountains and the whispers of earth had shaped him deeply. He was no longer just a child in hiding. He had become the seed of Olympus itself. This was the life of the hidden child. This was the beginning of the unbroken Zeus. Zeus grew in his hidden refuge, where the earth became his greatest teacher. Gaia, the ancient mother, was everywhere in the soil, the leaves and the streams that mirrored his face. He did not seek wisdom from scrolls or councils, but found lessons written in roots, stones, and winds. The earth whispered truths that no other teacher could give him. She taught him harmony through the trees, where every branch and root had its place in the whole. She taught him resilience through the storms that bent trees but never broke them. She showed him rivers that found new paths, flowing onward without ceasing. She taught him patience through seeds that waited in silence until their time to rise. These gifts were greater than crowns or weapons, for they were the wisdom of earth itself. He began to see the world not as a battlefield, but as a fragile harmony. He understood his role would not be to dominate, but to balance. At night, he lay on the ground and felt the slow, steady pulse of the earth. The heartbeat of the earth reminded him that true strength is calm, not hurried. In rivers, he saw reflection not only of his face, but of endless possibility. Water showed him that movement could be gentle, yet powerful, shaping mountains with time. Mountains themselves spoke of endurance, standing unmoved as silent guardians of ages. Gaia's gift was wrapped not in glory, but in simplicity. She revealed that life thrives through balance, endings giving way to beginnings. At dawn, he felt the earth's voice in sunlight, in air, in stone. "Hold steady, child of the sky," it whispered. "Endure, and in your endurance guide." These words filled him without ever being spoken. The gift of earth was also belonging. Zeus felt part of the world's rhythm. The wind in the trees was his breath, the rivers, his blood, the sky, his reflection. He grew not only in body, but in spirit, guided by Gaia's quiet wisdom. He did not crave thrones or treasures, for he carried treasures beyond gold. The earth had given him balance, patience, and endurance. These gifts did not shine like jewels, yet they were unbreakable. Zeus carried them within, waiting for the day the world would call for him. On that day, he would bring clarity, not chaos. He would not come to shatter, but to steady. for he was child of earth as much as child of sky. And Gaia's gift, the wisdom of harmony, would shape the unbroken Zeus. Though Gaia gifted Zeus the wisdom of the earth, another presence watched over him from above. It was the sky, vast, boundless, and ever-shifting, stretching beyond sight. The heavens were his father's realm, yet even hidden, Zeus could feel its watchful gaze. By day, sunlight touched his face, filling him with warmth and courage. By night, stars glimmered like lanterns, guiding his thoughts and dreams. The sky was never silent, its winds, clouds, and storms all carrying messages. Zeus listened closely, and soon he began to understand them. The sky taught him freedom, stretching without limits, reminding him nothing should be caged. The sky taught him change, clear one moment, stormy the next. It showed him power could be gentle or fierce, often both at once. The sky also taught him vision, revealing how all things were connected. Zeus often lifted his eyes upward, seeking the future hidden above. Sometimes a soft breeze whispered, "Asterisk, you are not alone." Asterisk. Other times thunder rolled, asking, "Asterisk, are you ready to endure?" Asterisk. The heavens were both comfort and challenge, never simple to command. Their vastness mirrored the depth of his spirit and his strength within. One night, a falling star crossed the sky, swift and bright. To Zeus, it was not loss, but a sign of destiny moving forward. The sky did not promise him answers, only questions to carry. Will you rise when the time calls? Will you bring balance to storm and calm? He held the questions as carefully as he held Gaia's gifts. Between earth and sky, Zeus was learning balance and harmony. One rooted him, the other lifted him higher. Together, they shaped the heart of the hidden child. He stood between them, earth beneath and sky above. And here, he began to understand who he was becoming. He belonged not to one, but to both. The sky whispered asterisk, "Do not fear the storm." Asterisk. For storms could strike, but also illuminate and renew. Zeus learned power was not destruction alone, but creation and hope. At dawn, the heavens painted colors, like a promise of tomorrow. Someday, Zeus too would rise, like the sun chasing shadow. The hidden child was no longer only listening, he was preparing. One day, his voice would echo like thunder, not to frighten, but to awaken. The earth steadied him, and the sky called him upward. Together, they shaped the destiny of the unbroken Zeus. Zeus's childhood was not spent in solitude, for though hidden, he was never abandoned. The earth, the sky, and his quiet guardians surrounded him with love. Among these guardians were the nymphs of the wild, spirits of nature's breath. They had lived for countless seasons, yet when Zeus came, their purpose deepened. The nymphs became his companions, his teachers, and his comfort in silence. They spoke not in speeches but in songs, laughter, and whispers beneath starlight. From them, Zeus learned joy, a gift as precious as wisdom. One showed him the music of water, ripples carrying ancient melodies. He listened, and in the rhythm of streams, he felt peace within. Another taught him the dance of the wind, with light, playful steps. Zeus followed clumsily at first, but soon laughed as freely as the breeze. Others showed him kindness by caring for birds, fawns, and flowers. From them, he learned that greatness must always carry gentleness too. They told him legends of rivers, valleys, stars, and the dawn of time. Through their stories, he saw that every being has its own tale. Their voices gave him companionship, easing the weight of hidden destiny. Yet they also taught him silence, leading him deep into quiet woods. There he learned that silence could speak louder than words themselves. He discovered wisdom was not always in asking, but in listening. The wind carried answers, the soil carried memory, the stars carried guidance. The nymphs were playful, but they were guardians, watching over Zeus. As he slept, he felt them near, like the endless rustle of leaves. Their protection was not walls or weapons, but care woven with love. Zeus grew strong in their company, but more importantly, he grew kind. He carried their lessons. Joy was as powerful as wisdom, compassion as vital as courage. When storms raged, the nymphs whispered, "Do not fear the thunder's voice." When doubts troubled him, they lifted him with laughter and gentle light. Their voices became part of him, threads woven into his spirit. In time, Zeus would rule as king, but carry their gentleness within. For power without compassion is emptiness, and rule without joy is silence. The nymphs not only guarded Zeus, but shaped the heart he carried. Every laugh, story, and song they shared became a guiding light within. Their voices prepared him for the day shadows would fall away. Though years passed, their songs echoed, never fading from his heart. They reminded him that no destiny should be carried without joy and love. And thus, with their voices guiding him, Zeus walked toward becoming the unbroken. The years passed gently, and Zeus grew under the watchful eyes of his guardians. But it was not only the nymphs who guided him, for the earth itself held him close. Gaia, the ancient mother of all, had set her heart upon the child of promise. From his first breath, she knew Zeus carried a spark that would not fade. Gaia was not always seen, but she was always felt beneath his every step. Sometimes, she was only a steady pulse of life beneath the soles of his feet. Other times she spoke as a voice carried by the wind, soft yet strong. She was the ground that cradled him, the hills that sheltered him, the forest that sang. From Gaia, Zeus learned that the world was not only stone and soil, but alive. Every tree was a keeper of secrets, every mountain a watcher of ages, every river was a voice, carrying its own part in the eternal song. One day, as he rested beneath a great oak, the earth stirred beneath him, the roots trembled, and warmth rose through the trunk into the sky. Then Gaia spoke clearly, her voice older than time itself. "Child of promise," she said, "your path is one of balance, not ease. To hold the sky and earth together, you must first know their harmony." Zeus listened, steady, though he did not yet understand her full meaning. Still, he felt the truth in her words settle deep within his heart. Gaia taught him patience, showing how seeds wait before breaking the soil. She revealed how mountains are shaped not by force, but by time and wind. Strength, she taught, was not only in thunder, but in quiet endurance. The true power of the world was not in the storm's roar, but its rhythm. Gaia's lessons were woven into the fields, rivers, and skies around him. When he walked the fields, she showed him the rhythm of seasons passing. When he gazed at the sea, she revealed the dance of the tides. The nymphs gave him laughter and joy, but Gaia gave him grounding. She whispered that joy must take root, or else drift like leaves in the wind. Her gift was not laughter or song, but balance between joy and purpose. Zeus began to feel her presence in everything he touched each day. The stones he held carried the weight of countless forgotten ages. The air he breathed carried the breath of lives long gone and past. The waters he drank carried memory as old as the first dawn. Gaia told him, "When the time comes, you will stand as guardian. Remember the seed's patience, the mountain's endurance, the sea's rhythm. These will keep you unbroken when shadows rise and storms roar." Her words did not burden him, but instead filled him with calm. He knew his destiny was vast, yet Gaia promised to walk with him. As nights passed into mornings, and mornings into years, he grew steady. His laughter still rang with the nymphs, but wisdom deepened his spirit. He began to understand what it meant to carry the world's promise. Not yet king, not yet thunderbearer, but no longer only a hidden child. He was becoming a guardian in training, shaped by earth and sky. Gaia whispered that the day would come, and when it did, he'd be ready. Her gift was patience, harmony, and the quiet strength to endure. These gifts would stay with him through storms and into his rule. The greatest power, she taught, was not striking, but standing firm, steady, unbroken, as the earth beneath all life. As Zeus grew, his guardians marveled at the balance within him. He carried the laughter of the nymphs and the wisdom of Gaia. Yet still, something more awaited him, a voice not yet heard. The earth had grounded him, but now the sky began to call. One evening, the sun slipped behind the mountains, and stars awoke. Zeus looked upward, and a stirring rose deep within his heart. The sky was endless, stretching beyond eyes, beyond even stories. Yet in that vastness, Zeus felt a strange kinship unfold. It was as though the stars themselves were speaking to him. That night, lying awake, he felt a breeze pass over him. It carried a whisper, sharper and lighter than he had known. "Child of the storm," it said, "the sky belongs to you." He opened his eyes, and though unseen, presence filled the night. The stars glowed brighter. The air itself hummed with life. The sky was alive, restless, ever-changing, and calling him closer. In drifting clouds, he heard voices. In winds, he felt urging. Lightning on the horizon stirred his heart like a secret greeting. The sky taught in flashes, in sudden, brilliant moments of clarity. On a cliff, the wind lifted him, wrapping his arms with freedom. His laughter carried away, and he knew the sky was flight. The earth had patience, but the sky was endless movement. It was a dance without end, swift and unbound by silence. From the stars he learned eternity. From clouds he learned change. The winds taught swiftness, the courage to move when called. And above all, the sky's gift to him was hope itself. The horizon was never the end, but always a beginning. The sky whispered, "You are the bridge between below and above. Your heart must hold both patience and freedom, stillness and motion." Humbled, yet uplifted, Zeus felt the universe calling his spirit. In storms he found no fear, but a promise waiting for him. The rumble of thunder stirred him like no other sound. Lightning and thunder were not yet his, but awaited his hand. He grew in the love of earth and the breath of sky, rooted in Gaia, yet lifted by the stars above him. Among trees he felt the sky sheltering with endless expanse. At night, gazing upward, he knew he was never alone. The earth gave him patience, but the sky gave him vision. The earth grounded him, but the sky gave him wings. He was not yet Thunderbearer, nor ruler of Olympus, but whispers of the sky told him that day was coming. When it arrived, he would no longer walk in hiding. He would stand between earth and heaven, unbroken and strong, for the sky itself had claimed him and whispered forever. The cave where Zeus had grown was no longer a place of hiding. It had become a temple of learning, filled with lessons that echoed in his heart. The nymphs who raised him watched with quiet awe at his growth. The child, they once lulled to sleep now, stood tall, his voice carrying new strength. Every creature and tree seemed to know he carried a rare spark. Birds circled the cave as if declaring it sacred to the skies. The winds would hush suddenly, leaving a pause before revelation. Even the earth trembled lightly, not in fear but in recognition. These were not accidents, but signs of destiny unfolding. Gaia had told him once, "The world speaks to those it has chosen." Now he began to understand what her words truly meant. The streams rippled without touch, glowing softly around him. Cliffs yielded easily, as though eager to help him rise higher. One evening he sat before the fire lit by the nymphs. The flames danced into crowns, eagles, and lightning before his eyes. The nymphs exchanged glances, but chose to remain silent. The world was showing its hand, and they dared not interrupt. Zeus, still young, asked, "Why does the wind quiet when I speak? Why do the waters shimmer without reason when I walk?" They smiled gently, hiding truths too heavy for him to bear. They told him, "The world trusts you because you listen to it." But deep inside, Zeus felt a greater pull beyond Crete. He dreamed one night of a mountain taller than the stars. Below him stretched lands, seas, and kingdoms hidden by clouds. A voice from the heavens called, "Child of Cronus, your time will come." The voice was not frightening, but it carried a command. He woke breathless, the echo still ringing in his chest. The cave now felt smaller, as if unable to contain him. The world outside was calling, and he could not ignore it. Gaia heard his dream and spoke with calm certainty. Dreams are not shadows of thought, but the language of destiny. She touched the earth, and the soil shifted under her hand. "Your path will not be easy, but you must be ready. Listen to the world, and one day you must act." From then, Zeus prepared both in strength and in spirit. He trained with patience, knowing haste could lead astray. He ran valleys, climbed peaks, and leaped across rivers. He sought wisdom in stories, silence, and steady questions. The nymphs cared for him but began to step back. They knew the child of shadows would soon step into light. Each day, the signs grew stronger around his presence. Winds bent around him. Rains softened under his steps. Thunder rolled faintly whenever his heart surged with purpose. He could not yet name it, but power stirred within him. Greater than power was a promise he would not be like Cronus. Cronus had ruled with fear and devoured what he could not control. Zeus would rise guided by joy, patience, and freedom. The cave, once a cradle of safety, became a threshold. Beyond it lay a world waiting, trembling in expectation. Zeus walked toward the horizon, not as a child of fear, but as a child of destiny, chosen by earth and sky. The signs were written in fire, water, wind, and stone. And soon, the world would see them come to life. Crete was no longer a hidden corner of the world for Zeus. It became a classroom where destiny quietly prepared him for what lay ahead. The seasons turned, each bringing a new lesson. Spring taught renewal. Summer gave strength. Autumn showed beauty in endings. Winter whispered the power of stillness and rest. The nymphs saw how differently Zeus walked now. He no longer moved as a child, but as one guided by an inner compass. Yet he always paused to listen to the voices of nature. Leaves, rivers, and eagles became his teachers and companions. One evening, the wind shifted with a sound like distant music. It rose from the horizon, as if the world itself was singing. Zeus closed his eyes and felt both small and infinite within it. Adrastea approached, watching him with gentle wonder. "You hear what others cannot," she said softly. "The world reveals itself because you are meant to guide it." Zeus turned, questioning with steady eyes. How can one so young guide something so vast? Adrastea smiled and placed her hand over his. "Size does not decide destiny," she whispered. "Listen long enough, and the path will show itself." That night, Zeus dreamed of a shadowed plain. The earth quaked under unseen steps, the air trembling with power. Figures appeared, giants, rulers, and gods, unknown to him. They seemed restless, waiting for a change yet to come. The heavenly voice rose once more above the mist. "Zeus, child of promise, the time of silence is ending." He awoke before dawn, his heart heavy but steady. The future was already whispering, even as he waited. In the days that followed, he trained with focus. He practiced strength, but also the art of patience. He learned that power was not only to command. True strength also meant knowing when to wait. The nymphs watched, certain of his unfolding destiny. They knew one day he would leave Crete behind. But for now, their task was to nurture and prepare him. One dusk, Gaia appeared once more before Zeus. Her voice was calm, carrying the weight of the earth. "The future leans toward you, child," she told him. "I feel it," Zeus replied. "The world waits, though I do not know why." Gaia placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "What is unbroken must also be unyielding," she said. Her words lingered long after she had vanished. The stars that night seemed brighter and more alive. Zeus watched them shift, each light a distant promise. "I will not fail," he whispered. "I will listen. I will rise." And though no one else heard, the heavens replied. A faint roll of thunder answered him in the silence. The whispers of the future were growing louder, and Zeus, still in Crete, was ready to hear them all. The days on Crete grew quiet, but within Zeus, the call of destiny grew louder. Each breeze felt like a message, urging him toward something greater. He often climbed the cliffs and gazed at the sea. The horizon no longer seemed like an edge, but an invitation. Beyond the waves, he felt, lay his true purpose. The nymphs still cared for him, yet even they knew waiting was ending. They spoke less of childhood tales and more of the world beyond. One night, Adrastea whispered, "Zeus, you cannot stay hidden forever. The earth has guarded you long enough." Zeus listened in silence, though his heart agreed. He was no longer a child of secret valleys. He was a figure preparing to meet a future written in the stars. Dreams returned more often now, sharper than before. He saw a throne of clouds and light, encircled by figures. Some bowed, some resisted, and some watched in silence. He did not yet understand, but he knew it spoke of change. The world was shifting, and he stood at its center. One misty morning, Gaia appeared once more. Her voice carried the depth of rivers and patience of stone. "Zeus," she said, "the silence of your father's reign cannot last. The earth grows restless." Zeus lowered his gaze with respect. "I feel it," he admitted. "Every dream, every tremor pulls me forward." Gaia's eyes softened, though her words stayed steady. "You will be asked to stand where no one else dares. You must not break." Then her presence faded, leaving him with clarity. The world was no longer whispering. It was speaking plainly. The nymphs began to prepare him in new ways. They taught not only strength and patience, but compassion and wisdom. They reminded him, power means little without care. Zeus absorbed their lessons like earth drinking rain. He listened, he learned, and he carried their words within. But another voice rose inside him, the call of destiny. It urged him to look beyond Crete, beyond safety, beyond childhood. The world was vast, and its fate awaited his hand. One evening, the sun set in a blaze of gold. Zeus stood at the cave's entrance, feeling the weight of his years in hiding. The horizon glowed with promise. The nymphs gathered, their faces filled with pride and sorrow. They had known this day would come. Adrastea spoke gently. "Zeus, when you leave, the world will know your name. It will not be an easy path, but it will be yours." Zeus looked at them with gratitude. "You gave me more than life," he said. "You gave me wisdom, love, and strength. I will carry them wherever I go." The wind circled him as though in approval. The sea roared faintly in the distance. Even the stars above seemed to brighten. It was as if the universe itself was waiting for his first step. That night, Zeus did not rush forward, but he no longer felt bound to the cave. He knew the time of hiding was almost over. The world beyond Crete was calling, and he was ready to listen. The storm of change was near, and Zeus, unbroken and unyielding, stood ready to meet it. The air on Crete grew restless, as if the island itself knew Zeus's days of hiding were ending. The breezes felt sharper, carrying whispers from faraway lands. The sea no longer sang a lullaby, but a summons. For Zeus, every moment reminded him that destiny drew near. He still walked the valleys and listened to the winds, but his heart no longer found contentment in silence. He stood on cliffs, gazing at the horizon. Beyond those waters, his father's rule still weighed heavy. Each passing day, that thought grew heavier within him. The nymphs sensed the change and spoke differently now. Their words became threads of preparation in a greater tapestry. They spoke of wisdom, patience, and restraint beyond strength. One night, under bright stars, Amalthea wandered near. Zeus rested a hand upon her back in gratitude. He thought of the gifts Earth had always given. Milk, shelter, care, and love had shaped his path. In dreams, visions of Kronos haunted his nights. His father sat upon a throne shrouded in power. Yet Zeus felt not fear, but a stirring within. The heavens whispered, change was coming. This was not the end. He awoke with new determination in his heart. No longer simply preparing, he was readying himself. The waiting was almost at an end. One day, Adrastea spoke beneath a great oak. "Zeus, the earth has sheltered you long enough. The winds and seas now call your name. The world must see you step into the light." Zeus listened in silence, but his soul agreed. He nodded with quiet acceptance, without hesitation. The days that followed were filled with new lessons. The nymphs taught not how to survive, but to lead. They reminded him power meant nothing without compassion. Patience and wisdom would guide him as much as strength. Zeus absorbed every word, like dry earth drinking rain. The boy he had been gave way to a leader. Still, questions lingered in the back of his mind. How could one voice face the silence of Kronos? Could he truly stand where no one else dared? One evening, Gaia appeared once more before him. Her voice carried the weight of stone and rivers. "The silence of Kronos has lasted too long. The earth itself grows restless beneath his reign." Zeus bowed low and answered with respect. "Every dream and tremor pulls me forward," he said. Gaia's eyes softened, though her words stayed firm. "Carry love and care with your strength, Zeus. The world does not need another tyrant. It needs a guardian. Her words burned into him like a lasting flame. Zeus lifted his eyes to the stars above. He no longer saw them as distant lights. They were companions on his path ahead. That night the nymphs gathered close around him. Their eyes held both joy and sorrow. They had raised and prepared him for this moment. Adrastea whispered, "Remember Crete when you leave. Carry its love with you, and you'll never be alone." Zeus's heart swelled with gratitude and resolve. "You gave me wisdom, love, and strength," he said. "I will carry them always." The wind stirred as though blessing his promise. The sea's roar echoed faintly in the distance. The stars above shimmered brighter than before. The island itself seemed to offer farewell. Zeus stood tall, destiny pressing like a call. The time of waiting was ending at last. The storm of change gathered strength on the horizon. At its center stood Zeus, unbroken, unyielding, and ready. The morning rose quietly, yet it carried a sense of change. The cave that had sheltered Zeus now felt like a doorway to something greater. Every sound of nature seemed sharper, as if the world wanted him to remember. The nymphs gathered close, their eyes filled with pride and gentle sorrow. They had raised him not to hide forever, but to step into his destiny. Adrastea touched his shoulder and spoke softly. "This island gave you life, but the world awaits your voice. Do not fear the path ahead." Zeus felt gratitude fill his heart. "All that I know of love and strength I owe to you," Ida added. "Carry the spirit of Crete with you. It will guide you when you are far from us." Zeus turned toward the horizon where sea and sun touched. His days of waiting were done. His path now stretched forward. Amalthea, the gentle goat who had nursed him, came near. She pressed her head to him, reminding him of the child he once was. Zeus whispered, "I will never forget you." The wind stirred, urging him onward. The sea roared with a voice of vastness. Zeus rose, no longer a child, but one who had accepted his purpose. He looked once more at the mountains, valleys, and caves that had shaped him. The nymphs walked with him to the shore, each step filled with love. They offered words to guide him. "Carry patience, carry wisdom, carry kindness." Zeus held their blessings as treasures in his heart. At the edge of the sea, he paused, the waves cool against his feet. He looked across the horizon, knowing his father's throne awaited. Zeus spoke to the sea, his voice steady. "I am coming, not to destroy, but to bring balance. Not to rule in silence, but to guide with care." The wind rose higher, and the sea struck the rocks in answer. The boy who had been hidden was gone. In his place stood the figure who would one day command thunder and lightning. Zeus turned back to the nymphs with love. "I will not forget you. You are my beginning, and I will carry you always." Adrastea's eyes glistened, but she smiled. "Go, Zeus. The world is waiting." And so he walked on, no longer hidden, but moving toward his destiny. The island of Crete faded behind him, not lost, but carried within. Ahead lay trials and choices that would shape gods and mortals. Yet in that moment, there was no fear, only clarity. Zeus had taken his first step beyond Crete, and with that step, the world began to change. The sea air clung to Zeus as he left Crete behind. Each wave carried him farther from childhood and closer to destiny. The horizon stretched wide, a curtain between past and future. Zeus had always been told he was meant for more. Now, stepping beyond his sanctuary, he felt the weight of that truth. No longer the hidden boy, he was becoming a figure of legend. The journey across the sea gave him time to reflect. He thought of Amalthea, who had given him life. He thought of Adrastea and Ida, who had guided his steps. He remembered songs, laughter, and nights beneath the stars. These were not chains, but roots that strengthened him. When he reached the mainland, the air felt sharper, alive. Voices filled the air. Scents of earth and fire surrounded him. Mortals moved about, unaware of who walked among them. He did not declare himself. He came without thunder or flash, only silence. Instead, he observed, he listened, he learned. He saw mortals praying to the unseen sky. He heard their hopes, their fears, their unspoken questions. And within, something stirred deeply. Whispers of his father reached him soon. Cronus was not only a ruler, but a shadow. His reign was built on control and silence. Zeus understood his path was more than a throne. It was about restoring balance. It was about answering the voices longing for change. Yet Zeus did not rush. Patience, as the nymphs had taught him, guided his steps. He sought wisdom in rivers that spoke in riddles. He listened under ancient oaks that whispered truth. He learned strength was not only voice or arm. True power lived in the heart that knew when to act. The stars above became his nightly companions. He traced their ancient patterns and stories. He wondered if one day his story too would shine, not from pride, but from purpose. With each day, his power grew within. Thunder echoed his emotions. Clouds answered his will, yet he held back, for power without purpose was only noise. And so he walked with humility. He did not rush to confront Cronus. He did not demand loyalty or worship. Instead, he moved quietly, letting the world teach him. He saw joy and sorrow, beginnings and endings. He began to understand guiding was not control, but nurture. At last, he looked toward Olympus again. Its peaks hid in the clouds, waiting. Zeus was no longer the child of Crete. He was a young god, tempered by patience and love. He carried the wisdom of earth and sky. The path ahead still held trials, yet he walked with certainty. For the first time, he felt not only ready, but called. The throne of Olympus was not just birthright, but duty. And with each step, the world seemed to know it too. Zeus wandered far, and with each step the world grew larger. Villages, voices, and stories surrounded him, weaving a tapestry of hope and longing. He saw farmers praying for rain to touch their fields. He heard mothers singing to children, asking the heavens for safety. He watched sailors whisper to the winds before setting sail. These voices rose like a chorus. Unaware, he walked among them. Their hopes pressed upon him, gentle yet powerful. It was not a burden, but a reminder of his path. Power, he understood, was not for fear or glory. It was for service, for listening, for guiding. At sunset, Zeus climbed a hill to watch the horizon glow. The sky shifted, wind stirred, and thunder rippled softly. It was not anger, but recognition from the heavens. From the shadows, a calm voice rose to meet him. "You carry more than yourself, young one," it said. He turned to see Themis, cloaked in starlight. Her presence carried balance, law, and timeless wisdom. "The voices of mortals reach you," she spoke, "and the whispers of gods will soon follow. Do you hear what they are asking?" Zeus answered quietly. "They ask for balance, not crowns. They long for peace, not fear." Themis looked deep into him, her eyes like night. "And when power comes, what will you do? Will you silence voices or uplift them?" Her words struck deep, echoing his father's shadow. Zeus breathed steady and spoke his vow. "I will not rule through fear or silence. I will listen. I will guide. I will protect." Themis smiled, and the stars glowed brighter. "Remember, Zeus," she said, "a throne is not a prize. It is a promise." Then she faded like mist under morning light. Only her words remained, steady as destiny itself. Zeus lingered on the hill, night embracing him. Above, constellations shimmered, nodding to his vow. He felt no haste, only preparation. Olympus was not a race, but a weight to carry. As he descended, he passed a village at play. Children laughed, their joy ringing like music. An elder gazed at the stars with quiet peace. Zeus paused, unseen, and felt a new truth. Leadership was not distance or fear. It was presence, knowing joys and sorrows of life. The road ahead would test him deeply. Destiny was no longer a whisper, but a call. Zeus knew he must walk it with patience and wisdom. The sky rumbled softly, a promise of strength. He lifted his gaze and whispered to the night, "I am ready to listen. I am ready to lead." And the world seemed to breathe in reply. As years passed, Apollo's name echoed in temples, poems, and prayers. He was remembered as god of light, prophecy, and harmony. His spirit lingered in each sunrise, in music's clarity, and in truth spoken with courage. Travelers still climbed Delphi's sacred slopes with heavy questions. Though the oracle's voice had faded, they felt him in the wind and rustling laurel leaves. The warmth of the sun carried whispers of his presence. It was said Apollo never vanished, but withdrew with grace. His bright flame softened into a light carried within human souls. He guided mortals when shadows threatened their path. In myths, he was fierce, yet compassionate, radiant, yet complex. The Greeks knew gods, like mortals, held contradictions. Apollo embodied balance, reason, and song, order and art. His legend lived on in poets, philosophers, and dreamers. A lyre strummed in silence carried his memory. A healer tending the sick evoked his blessing. A seeker gazing at stars whispered his name for clarity. Even when temples fell, Apollo's image endured. He became more than a god. He became a symbol of longing. The Romans saw him as empire's order and strength. The Renaissance revived him as eternal muse. Even now, his presence lingers in quiet ways. Wherever beauty or truth is sought, Apollo is there, not as a figure before us, but as a flame within. His eternal gift reminds us light lives in every heart. Healing, singing, dreaming, and seeking truth, all are his legacy. And so his story never truly ends. It flows with us, shaping how we see ourselves and the world. His flame is the spark of each dawn, each song, each truth. Apollo remains alive, not just in myth, but in spirit. He is eternal, carried within all who bring light to the world.